play a game. Who's up for Parcheesi? Chris Rock stars as Zeke, a homicide cop whose newest case will lead him down a spiraling path of bloodshed eerily similar to that of the infamous Jigsaw killer. You see, someone has adopted the Jigsaw's old MO and is now targeting corrupt cops to play a new and deadly game with. Spiral from the Book of Saw is a movie that's kind of playing a deadly game with itself. Because as much as Spiral wants to be marketed as a Saw movie, or at least a chapter in the Saw saga, it also wants to embark on its own journey and hope that we, the audience, will come along for the ride. I'm sure the hope here was for Spiral to be successful enough that it could branch off into its own series. Kind of like the Conjuring universe. A Saw universe, if you will. A very sickly yellow tinted universe with dingy white tile floors and a lone, filthy toilet over in the corner. I can see it now. Paradise. This could very well be a recipe for disaster, of course. Fans of the previous Saw films could find Spiral not quite Saw enough, while non-Saw fans might find just enough Saw in Spiral to turn them off. I was interested in seeing Spiral from the moment that it was announced. The Saw formula had produced 7 years of back-to-back movies, most of which being huge box office successes, before the inevitable exhaustion set in. Spiral feels like a return to form, a good old-fashioned murder mystery detective story, because that's pretty much exactly what the original Saw was. The emphasis here isn't on the torturous methods the killer uses to teach his victims a lesson, but more about Chris Rock's Zeke character. He's the only good cop in a department full of bad cops, all of whom don't think too highly of him. So when someone starts offing corrupt cops using Jigsaw's old MO, Zeke comes under immediate suspicion. The movie does a good job of casting suspicion onto Zeke, considering that he's got a significant bone of his own to pick with his corrupt coworkers. And as the film goes on, you see his cool demeanor start to crack. One of the most cited criticisms I heard about Spiral was Chris Rock's performance. Personally, I liked Chris Rock in this role. He handled the more dramatic scenes well, I thought, and delivered some nice moments of humor along the way. Zeke's opening monologue about how Forrest Gump couldn't get made today is hilarious, because it's true. I also really liked his Pilates doesn't exist speech. Were there moments that he felt a little out of his element? Sure. But there were also moments where he felt in complete control and delivered. I think it's sometimes difficult for people to accept an actor who's known for one particular genre and has had success in that genre work in another genre, particularly genres as dissimilar as comedy and horror. Or are they that dissimilar? There's an interview with Chris Rock on this release in which he compares horror with comedy. In both genres, it's all about timing. There's a setup and then either a punchline or a scare. Both elicit a reaction, either laughter or fright. Samuel L. Jackson plays Zeke's father, a retired former chief of police whose shadow Zeke's had to occupy. Jackson does what he does best here, and that's demand your undivided attention during each and every scene that he's in. The killer's traps here aren't quite as elaborate as Jigsaw's or his minions, but they're still pretty cringe-inducing. For instance, a trigger-happy cop is faced with either losing his life or losing his fingers. A cop who's prone to lying while on the stand loses his tongue. And there's a pretty brutal trap involving a former cop with alcohol abuse issues who has broken bottles fired at his back at terminal velocity. Ouch. On the downside, as twists and turns go, there really aren't any. Spiral is as straightforward a murder mystery cop movie as they come, and feels pretty predictable because of this. There are big chunks of the plot that seem really derivative too. We get the gruff veteran cop having to babysit the rookie detective trope. We even get the classic police chief character whose every sentence is yelled at the top of their lungs. Only in the case of Spiral, instead of a chunky red-faced dude, we get the lovely Marisol Nichols in that role. On top of that, everything just feels kind of rushed and halfway realized from a story standpoint. The identity of the killer is also pretty obvious. Spiral doesn't do anything we haven't seen before and done substantially better, but still, I had a fine time with the movie and found it perfectly entertaining. It's probably not going to relaunch the Saw series or launch its own parallel universe, but there's enough here to build on, I think. As for this new 4K UHD, Blu-ray, and digital combo pack from Lionsgate, I thought the picture quality and the sound quality on the 4K UHD was absolutely fantastic. I would give the picture quality a solid 4.5 out of 5. Same thing with the audio quality. I'd give it a solid 4.5 out of 5. Also, Spiral isn't a movie that was really shot to look beautiful. It's not quite as dingy and nasty looking as the Saw films, so it's not going to jump off the screen at you, but I thought the picture quality was crisp, it was clean, there was a high level of detail and clarity. Spiral looked really good on this 4K release from Lionsgate. As for the audio, we get a Dolby Atmos track on here, and it sounded great. As far as extras are concerned, first up we get the consequences of your actions creating Spiral. It's 59 minutes and 5 seconds in length. It includes interviews with producers Jason Constantine, Mark Berg, Oren Kouls, and Daniel Jason Hefner, writers Josh Stolberg and Peter Goldfinger, Chris Rock, Darren Lynn Bousman, and more. They discuss the genesis of Spiral and how it all started with Chris Rock wanting to be involved, developing the story, casting, bringing Darren Lynn Bousman in to direct, balancing the humor and the horror, the film's score, the release being postponed due to the pandemic, and much more. This is a very nice, informative, and entertaining making-of documentary that doesn't just cover Spiral, but covers the Saw series as well in kind of broad strokes, but this is a really nice making-of documentary. Next we have Drawing Inspiration, Illustrated Trap Breakdown. It's 8 minutes and 45 seconds in which Darren Lynn Bousman discusses the killer traps in Spiral while we watch the sequences from the film. So it's kind of like a commentary track, but just for the killer traps. A commentary track for the killer traps. Try saying that 5 times fast. Next we have Decoding the Marketing of Spiral. It's 6 minutes and 12 seconds in length, in which Jason Constantine, Darren Lynn Bousman, and Oren Kouls discuss the marketing campaigns behind the Saw films and Spiral. And I'd forgotten just how controversial the marketing campaigns behind the Saw films were when they were being released, as far as the poster art for those films. So, pretty interesting stuff. We get the theatrical teaser trailer and the theatrical trailer, and we get an audio commentary with Darren Lynn Bousman, John Stolberg, and Charlie Clouser. Overall, this is a really nice release for Spiral from the folks over at Lionsgate. The 4K UHD presentation both looked and sounded fantastic. We get some really nice extras on this release also, including that great making-of documentary and this really nice slipcase. I just love slipcases. If you've seen Spiral, please let me know your thoughts on the film down in the comments section below. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up and share it on social media. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace. A huge shout out to all my patrons and channel members. I appreciate your generosity and support of my channel. Become a patron today and join me for exclusive live streams, get early access to videos, and have a say in what movies I review on my channel. Become a channel member and get access to exclusive badges and emotes to use when I stream. Links are in the description. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.